Dear patriots and change agents, welcome to the Nigeria Leadership Series Town Hall, a proud subsidiary of the Africa Leadership Group, powered by the Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation. We're so glad to have you here for this weekly virtual town hall, where renowned thought leaders and engaged citizens come together for meaningful discussions that spark ideas, promote responsible leadership, and advance good governance for our beloved nation. Hosted by Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, President and Founder, this series reflects his vision, which is to promote the emergence of real, ethical, and accountable leaders for good governance, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent. We are a non-religious, non-partisan, non-political organization powered by people just like you, individuals whose vision align with ours to drive sustainable development across Africa. At the Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation, we believe Nigeria's diversity, our cultures, ethnicities, and tribe is our greatest strength. Through initiatives like the Ituah Ighodalo Real Mentorship Program, project management courses, and the Civic Awareness and Citizens Engagement Programs, our School of Leadership and Governance offers stellar opportunities in leadership training, capacity building, and social development. Under our Community Development Initiative, projects like Feed a Neighbor, Feed a Nation have reached over 2,000 families facing food insecurity across 6 states. Our recently commissioned Hope Alive Fund is designed to empower and support entrepreneurship in underserved communities. In collaboration with civil society partners, we are building a coalition for participatory governance that works at the grassroots level to strengthen good governance and effective administration at the local government. We invite you to join us on this journey as we lay the bricks one at a time in building a resilient and formidable Africa. Please join us every Thursday at 5 p.m. West African time, live on Zoom. The meeting link is the same: simple, consistent, and open to all. Also, stay connected and inspired all week long and follow us on all our social media as posted here. Mark your calendars, invite a friend, and let's grow together. The Nigeria Leadership Series Town Hall, building leaders, celebrating unity, and shaping Africa's future. See you again next Thursday at 5 p.m. right here on Zoom.
Part of our work as ALG is to also help to rebuild some of these institutions with the right kind of people, the right kind of laws, institutions that stand on their own. Nigeria is a great country, and Nigeria can be beautiful for everybody if we all decide that we want to make Nigeria great.
Right people, too right much places on leadership's failure.
What about the fellowship? Do we have institutions that can support what we are talking about and see that our problem is not just leadership, even followership?
Institutions, it is people that make institutions. What is missing is that there's not been enough consistency of the right kind of people in our institutions to make them institutions. Okay, Shell is working well because there's been consistency of the right kind of people. But EFCC, NDLE, and all these places, even INEC, has not been able to institutionalize itself because there's not been a consistency of the right kind of people in those institutions. So part of our work as ALG is to also help to rebuild some of these institutions with the right kind of people, the right kind of laws, institutions that stand on their own. Nigeria is a great country, and Nigeria can be beautiful for everybody if we all decide that we want to make Nigeria great. but EFCC, NDLE, and all these places, even INEC,
that
has not been able to institutionalize it
everywhere, crisis
because there's not been a
everywhere,
consistency of the right kind of people.
What really is the missing part in our politics? That is now war everywhere, crisis everywhere, thuggery everywhere, banditry everywhere. Nobody can listen to anybody, and it now has to be a fight to finish. What is missing in Nigerian politics that it is like that?
Fast forward to 1999, when Obasanjo came in, the initial plan back then was that the party would be stronger than the individual, and that the party would take the decisions. Going back to the military, if you remember, the parties were funded such that it did not require one individual or governors to hold the structure of the party. So the governors and the government and political appointees were subject to the party. So the party then only became a platform for which elections are held, but no longer a disciplinary platform, no longer a platform that will decide who and who can run on their behalf. Governors essentially today.
How come we have degenerated to this level? What really is the missing part in our politics that is now war everywhere, crisis everywhere, thuggery everywhere, banditry everywhere? Nobody can listen to anybody, and it now has to be a fight to finish. What is missing in Nigerian politics that it is like that?
Fast forward to 1999, when Obasanjo came in, the initial plan back then was that the party would be stronger than the individual, and that the party would take the decisions. Going back to the military, if you remember, the parties were funded such that it did not require one individual or governors to hold the structure of the party. So the governors and the government and political appointees were subject to the party. So the party then only became a platform for which elections are held, but no longer a disciplinary platform, no longer a platform that will decide who and who can run on their behalf. Governors essentially today.
How come we have degenerated to this level? What really is the missing part in our politics that is now war everywhere, crisis everywhere, thuggery everywhere, banditry everywhere? Nobody can listen to anybody, and it now has to be a fight to finish. What is missing in Nigerian politics that it is like that?
Fast forward to 1999, when Obasanjo came in, the initial plan back then was that the party would be stronger than the individual, and that the party would take the decisions. Going back to the military, if you remember, the parties were funded such that it did not require one individual or
Nigeria, we healthy, our own native land. Hello. Hello. Welcome to another insightful edition of the Nigerian Leadership Series. We are glad that you could join us from wherever you are joining us all over the world. This is a platform where we engage in honest conversation about leadership, governance, and the future of our nation, Nigeria. Today's episode is going to be a very special one because for the first time in a while, we are turning the tables on its head. We've had open mic, but today we are having as our guests the one and only, none other than the host of this podcast himself, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, the president of the African Leadership Group and the founder and visionary behind the Nigerian Leadership Series that we have regularly. For the past 6 years, NLS has faithfully convened weekly conversation here on this platform. This conversation challenge leaders, they inspire citizens, and promote ideals of responsible, ethical, and accountable leadership. Through this discussion, the platform has become a respected voice in the national conversation on rebuilding Nigeria. Today, we are going to continue along the line of what we have been discussing in the last 4 series. What is the state of the nation today? How is Nigeria faring in terms of economy? What progress or setback have we witnessed in security? Where do we stand in the fight against corruption? In governance? Is governance improving? Are we still grappling with the same systemic challenges that have, stifled the development of this country? And perhaps one of the most important things I'd like to find out from Pastor Ituah today is we've been holding this conversation for the last 6 years. What is his impression? What impact has the NLS made so far? Has it influenced public discourse? Has it helped to shape thinking among leaders and citizens? Has it contributed in its own way to the ongoing journey of rebuilding Nigeria? These are some of the questions we'll be exploring with Pastor Ituah today. We look forward to hearing his perspective and reflection on the nation's journey so far, the lessons learned over the last 6 years of hosting this podcast, and what is his vision for the road ahead. So I want to once again welcome everyone to this platform, whether you're a policymaker, a businessman, a student, traditional ruler, or a religious leader, or simply a concerned citizen who believe that our nation can be better. This conversation is for you. So settle in for what promises to be a very thought-provoking and inspiring conversation. However, before we go ahead, the back office would like to share slide or video just to set the tone for the conversation. So back office, Faye.
Yes, thank you.
Pastor, you are welcome. Go ahead, Faye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's the second vice president. This is up to you. Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Let me play a video we were playing earlier on today, and then Pastor Sonny can go through the slides. Just 1 second. Let me pull that up. Good evening, everyone.
How come we are degenerated to this level?
What really is the missing part in our politics that is now war everywhere, crisis everywhere, thuggery everywhere, banditry everywhere? Nobody can listen to anybody, and it now has to be a fight to finish. What is missing in Nigerian politics that it is like that?
Fast forward to 1999, when Obasanjo came in, the initial plan back then was that the party would be stronger than the individual, and that the party would take the decisions. Going back to the military, if you remember, the parties were funded such that it did not require one individual or governors to hold the structure of the party. So the governors and the government and political appointees were subject to the party. So the party then only became a platform for which elections are held, but no longer a disciplinary platform, no longer a platform that will decide who and who can run on their behalf. Governors essentially today.
How come we have degenerated to this level? What really is the missing?
Back to you, Pastor Sonny.
This is everywhere.
I think you are muted, Sonny.
All right, so we'll just look at a few slides on a few stats, just so that we can set the context for the conversation. Many times people say things off the top of their head, but I think the back office has put together a few slides. We might not be able to go through all the slides, but Faye, as you roll through it, I will just speak to some of the numbers and the figures, just to give us a context of where we are, okay, and what has happened so far. All right, so the next slide, yeah. All right, so, well, just go through it. Go ahead. This is just the table of content. I don't think we'll have. So we have this slide that just shows where we are, what is the recent standing. On the Corruption Perception Index, that's the one being done by Transparency International. Nigeria is at 140 of 180 nations. All right, that's like 26% on what the world perceives us to be in terms of global terrorism. All right, because we are going to talk about the economy, security, and a bit of corruption also. We are among the most heavily afflicted countries globally. Okay, Global Peaks Index says that we are among one of the 20 most terrorized country in the world. All right, so what's the human capital index? Low human capital index. In terms of World Bank ease of doing business, we are ranked 110 of 115 globally. Okay, Global Innovation Index, well, all these are not. Let's have the next slide, yeah. So this slide measures, is still covering many things. Our population is 230. GDP growth is between 3 to 4%. Inflation rate is put at 20 to 30%. A lot of analysts believe that it's much higher. Especially food inflation is way in the region of about 40% or more. Unemployment figure, poverty, public debt, all of these are still very high. We have about 140 million Nigerians, or maybe more than that, living in multidimensional poverty. Our public debt has continued to rise, even though they said we have removed subsidy on oil. So give me the next slide. We may not be able to go through every slide word for word, but we are just showing some microeconomic indicators that speaks to our economy. Go ahead, Faye. Security indicators. We've spoken about terrorism, kidnapping, displacement. Terrorism declined substantially from its peak around 2014, 2015, but remains a significant threat in part of Northeast. Kidnapping for ransom has become one of the country's most prominent security challenge. Nigeria consistently records one of the world's highest number of conflict-related internal displacement. I don't know if we have the figure for the number of internally displaced people in Nigeria. But it's like in Nigeria, once you go into that IDP camp, that becomes your permanent home. All right. Corruption indicators, I say again, it's at 26%. That's the CPI. We are 140. Move, Fire, move ahead, move ahead. We have taken all these figures. And what does this speak to? Regional impact. Okay. Sorry, I didn't take that last one. I didn't see it. We're doing regional comparison between Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, and Botswana. All right. What's our CPI ranking? All right. Nigeria is 140. Okay. You didn't get us the numbers for all the other countries. You say better. All right. So they are better than Nigeria. HDI category, we are low, medium, high for Botswana economy. Africa's largest population and one of the largest economies, diversified regional. Well, all these are just contextual. And Pastor, I'm sure you've been following all the developments in Nigeria. So like I said, the stage, thank you very much, Faye. Let's go back now to the full conversation. So like I said, Pastor is the host of this program, but today we are welcoming him as the guest to share his own perspective on the state of the nation. So let me start here. Can you give us a synopsis of the state of the nation, just from these three perspectives: economy, security, and corruption?
Yeah, but I think, first of all, let me thank everyone for tuning in today, and the people who are hosting the program, Sonny and Jumoke, for your efforts on the back office. We've spoken about the economy. You can see that in most of the indices that you put on the screen, Nigeria ranks really, really low. And in spite of the size of the economy and the size of the population, the poverty index is very, very high. 25 million children out of school recorded. I believe there's many more children out of school than that. A lot of infant mortality rate is very high. A lot of people are not employed. I would like to think about 30 to 40% of our economy is not employed or underemployed, as it were. People doing very, very menial, unproductive jobs. Inflation is still quite high. The foreign exchange rate is still a little bit high, 150, $1,400, $1,500 to the naira to $1. I think it's an aberration to a certain extent. I think it has been controlled and instigated and manipulated, and I think Nigeria can do much better than that. Again, the poverty is very, very abject, especially in the rural areas. Lack of infrastructure. We have a great infrastructure gap all over the place. Lack of power. We're still generating only about 4,500 megawatts of power across the country, when demand is about 25,000 megawatts of power. Maybe now that they have deregulated electricity, which they should have done 20, 30 years, 40 years ago, and each state can now produce its own electricity, maybe we can have a quick ramp up with that. Corruption. Nigeria is almost corruption cultured, and that is a fact. Nobody can deny that. Even in the private sector, even in religious organizations, corruption seems to be the norm. People seem to expect to be corrupted, and people seem to expect to offer corruption from the little child to the big adult. When I say little child, when a child comes to me personally and says, "Who do I know in so and so school?" because they're looking for admission into the school, it's a form of corruption. Because if I need to know somebody, for somebody to be admitted, even if I do not give the person money, they are offering me a favor because I know them, and therefore you are inducing them to admit somebody who may or may not have been admitted. So that's corruption. Children want to do exams these days. They think it's normal to go to an exam center or to get somebody to do the exam for them, including university degree. That is corruption. And not to talk of corruption in terms of you want to do a small contract with anybody, government or private. You know, if you're a good businessman and you're trying to be honest, you keep something aside, you know, whether they ask you or not. You keep something aside for the people who made the transaction possible, okay? And they expect it, you expect to give them. That's corruption. Not to talk of government activity and government procurement and government contracting. Everybody's trying to go into government. They didn't give me a juicy appointment. What does that mean? What do you mean by a juicy appointment? The appointment is supposed to pay your salary, give you allowances. How does it become juicy? It becomes juicy because there's a big budget behind the appointment, and you know that you can get something out of that budget. So Nigeria almost runs on corruption. The political process is corrupted. You give people money to vote, so they don't even know what they're voting. They don't care if they're voting right or wrong. They expect to get 5,000, 10,000, in some cases 25,000 per vote. Even party primaries is a question of who can outspend the other, or who has outspent the other in previous situations. So a country driven by corruption leads to misallocation of resources and leads to underperformance and underdevelopment of the economy. So Nigeria is extremely high on the corruption indices, and until we can fight corruption aggressively, minimize corruption by making sure that we pay reasonable wages ab initio to those who are productive, we motivate people through productivity, and we eliminate completely corruption so that resources are not misallocated, we will be taking one step forward and two steps backwards. And I don't think I can see, even in the horizon, the government or the potential government that has the courage and fortitude to do the things that they need to do to fight corruption to a standstill. So we're still going to be struggling a little bit in Nigeria in terms of all these things that we're looking at. We're very, very underdeveloped. I mean, there's so many slums, there's so many ghettos, there's so much poverty, there's so much lack, there's so much underemployment. Things are so expensive, unnecessarily so, for a country that has so much natural resource. It's a little bit, it's sad. It's very, very sad. As for security or insecurity, it's also a fundamental reflection of the economy. You know, you have insecurity in an economy when there's no governance, like you have in South America, especially with the drug wars and things like that. You have insecurity in a company when the poverty index is very high, when people are very, very, very poor. You have insecurity in a country where there's corruption, where people are rewarded for the carnage and the disturbances that they can cause. And you have insecurity in a country where there is a bit of mental health issues, like you sometimes have in America and all that. Everything points only in one direction: the effectiveness of the government and the governed and the governance. That's the reflection of the state of the economy. Okay, that's why you have insecurity. In Nigeria, you add one leg to it: politically motivated insecurity. Okay, people deliberately create insecure situations to make their opponents in or out of power look ineffective and weakened. People create insecurity so that they can negotiate politically and so on and so forth. They create insecurity so that they can terrorize people and prevent people from voting in various areas from time to time. So they weaponize insecurity, and insecurity has become a big business in Nigeria, with both the bandits making money, and the security forces, ironically, making money. So nobody really wants the situation to change, because the people who should make it change are benefiting from the status quo. So there you go. Until you have very, very focused, determined, fearless, convicted leadership that has the courage of his conviction, we'll still be going around in these circles in our great and beautiful Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much, Pastor, for that very insightful opener. But part of the reason why you started the NLS 6 years ago was to address some of these things and spotlight most of these things that you are mentioning. We remember that famous video that you made, talking about the kind of leaders we want in Nigeria, what Nigeria should be going, So looking back 6 years of hosting NLS every week, have we been able to move the needle? Do you think the leaders are listening to us? Are the citizens listening? Are they taking action? If these things are still existing today.
The leaders are listening. I can tell you that a few of them are on the platform. You may not see them as who they really are, but they're on the platform. If they're not on the platform themselves, they have sent one or two of their aides on the platform, because a lot of these leaders, I know them, I see them outside, and from time to time they make comments here and there. The time when we hosted what you may call the lady who was involved in the NSAS, I know the whiplash and the backlash I got from various government quarters who found out that I was the host of that program, and so on and so forth. So I know they're listening, they're making comments, they're making notes, they're making observations. Not only that, a lot of people are listening. I mean, last week was a typical example where I was just talking normally and doing whatever I needed, and a gentleman got excited, and somebody else got so excited that they now wanted to conscript me into the podcast process. So people are listening. There's some people who almost live by the 5 o'clock Thursday program, that if the thing doesn't show, they will call me. What happened? Why didn't you people show up? There's some people, if they don't get the notification, they call me, or they call Olu, or they probably call yourself. So some people have gotten quite a lot of encouragement, gotten quite a lot of traction. A lot of ideas have come from the former program and from the after party. Not only that, a lot of people have also gotten involved one way or the other. It is from this program that we now have a very strong and vibrant youth wing that is being championed and managed by a gentleman called Mr. Kentebe, and he's doing an awesome job. And with that youth wing, it's fulfilling one of the goals of the NLS, in which we are penetrating down to the grassroots. We also have our various programs that are even now dealing with the corporate Nigeria and educating them and opening up their minds, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have our interaction and our training for the youth and all that. So there's a lot that has been achieved in these 6 years. It's just that we tend to underestimate what we ourselves have done. We've met people like Bob Destro, even on this program. We've made connections with America. They know us, they know what we're doing, they appreciate what we're doing. And even once in a while, one or two people from the British area, they pop in. So I think we have made quite a bit of impact. One of the things that Nigerians don't realize is that we tend to underestimate the level of work that needs to be done to repair and to rebuild this country. The level of decay is so deep, and it's faster to break down and to destroy and slower to build. So a lot of work needs to be done over time. The challenge is that not enough people are putting their hands on the plow to do this job, because most people are in a survival mode. Most people don't really care about Nigeria, and that is one of the biggest problems in Nigeria. There's no nationalistic feeling. There's nobody that truly believes in Nigeria, including those who are leading Nigeria. There's nobody who's been able to hold Nigeria together into a nation. So we're still not yet a nation. And when you are not truly a nation, then it hampers development, it affects thinking, it distorts motivation, and it does not allow you to unfold into what you are supposed to be. So there are lots of issues in Nigeria, or this area of land, or this geographical expression called Nigeria, that need to be tactically, painstakingly, consistently, over time dealt with. And then you find out that it doesn't need too many people to cause a change. Sometimes you need only one man who is convicted and convinced and determined to make a change. And I'm sure that on this platform, we've had many men and different kinds of men, and we need only one of them to rise up one day and say, no, this must stop, and we must go forward. So I think, even to a very large extent, it has done extremely well. It has brought people like you on board. I think you were our first guest in that day when we started, and now you're a fundamental part of the program. Jumoke, very, very strong part of the program. People like Faye have developed and evolved into very, very interested and interesting people. And people like Ulu Victor have discovered new skills and competencies and capacities, and lots of people at the back end. We have Professor Gray, she's done phenomenally well for us. Mrs. Yemisi Ransom Kuti, very, very faithful, very consistent. All over the world, people tune in into the NLS and ALG. We discovered people like Albert Name, Chioma Obiokolo, who's joined us and done phenomenally well with training of people, and so on and so forth. Of course, God has helped us in many, many ways, and God has been there for us. Shade Fasidemi used to be much more active, but now she's gone off and discovered different areas where she herself can express herself, and wherever she is, she's still a fundamental part of what we are trying to do. So I am grateful to God. I'm grateful to God that, number one, we've been consistent. We've not missed a Thursday because we didn't have a guest or we didn't have something to talk about. Of course, we've had our Christmas breaks and things like that. We have not lost anyone, so I really thank God for that. I'm grateful to God for what He has done. And it's making an impact. It's really, really making an impact. We've had several guests, in thousands, who have all expressed their minds as to what Nigeria should be. And even now, we've discovered talent, a lot of talent across the board, that if you said to me now, Ituah, set up government for Nigeria, who are you going to call to help you? I have talent, I have people, I have industry experts, I have passionate people in different parts of Nigeria that you can call on, and a lot of them seem very genuine, very sincere, very capable, very competent, very interested in Nigeria. So there's a small army that is being built and being worked on. So I am amazed, to be honest, at the level of impact and interaction that we have had.
Yeah. Can you project your voice a bit more? There's a lot of comments, Mr. President, that your audio is low. So do you mind increasing that so it's more audible? Thank you.
Right.
I will try my best.
Okay, it's better now.
Yeah, that's much better.
Is that a bit better?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Okay, so Pastor, let me.
When you are used to speaking with the microphone.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let me dial into some. Let me dial into some contemporary issues, because one of your strong points is that you are a thinker as well. Now, we have heard in recent times in Nigeria, and I'm coming to contemporary times in Nigeria, where we have seen, new levels of, if you like, call it corruption. For instance, recently, the news is out there that the National Assembly inserted about 8 billion to renovate churches and mosques, and another 22 billion to build palaces and all those kind of things. And then there are so many others because budget has brought out so many things. Is this a systemic failure? You are a thinker. What can we do to block this kind of, let me call it misappropriation? Because in terms of the scale of importance of things to do in Nigeria, building palaces and renovating churches, certainly not the most important. But somehow, these things keep entering even the budget of the nation. How do we deal with such things? What will you recommend? This government, any government in future? How can we deal with this kind of systemic issues? Because, it didn't start with this government. I'm very aware that even previous governments, previous national assemblies, they've been doing it, but it's still going on. How do you think we can deal with that? I don't want to talk about the fake commission or no fake commission.
It's all the outcomes of corruption,
Yes.
and it's not. You can't deal with it in isolation. You have to deal with it with understanding and with understanding and with a desire to effect some kind of knowledge and change. To be honest, building palaces may not be totally out of the question, because if the palace, for example, has an economic benefit to that area or to the government, because it is a tourist attraction or it does this or does that, there's nothing wrong with that. After all, Buckingham Palace itself is being maintained at government expense, but they
Pastor,
know how much
it should be put in the appropriate, it should come under the appropriate budget. Not that you put it under Ministry of Fishery, in the local government of one of the House of the Rep members. These are just pure slush money, to be honest. Because if they want to do it honestly and openly. Put it where it should be.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. That's where I'm going. That if you want to do it, it properly under the heading that it should come. If it's something that is generating income, it is something that is creating a feeling of goodness and whatever in their community and all that. But if you are now talking it in here, talking it in there, it's graft. You are actually paying the palace or paying the church or whatever to influence people in a certain way. Most of the time now you find some governor, what he wants to do is to buy jeeps for all the traditional rulers. It's not because he loves them, it's because he knows that he will influence them. The other day, our first lady was also talking about buying cars in open court to some people and telling them that their local government, this and that, should have bought them their cars, and the cars are their own. Is it part of their remuneration? I don't get it, and she said it openly, and that was that, and it was as though it's normal, is it part of their remuneration? Is it part of their bonuses? Is it part of their whatever? But they should get the cars as their own. They should register it in their name. They should go away with it. Again, it is to motivate them politically so that they can vote one way or the other. And this is why we are where we are in Nigeria. What we are interested in Nigeria is power for ourselves and enrichment for ourselves. That is the motivation in Nigeria. Nobody thinks of nation and national development. That's not the issue. Anybody who is aspiring to power today in Nigeria is aspiring to power so that they can have power for themselves, the benefits of office, or whatever it is, either legitimately or illegitimately, and also personal enrichment. Okay, that's why there's such a struggle for power, and that's why the principles of power is to, so for example, you want to choose a governor for a state, the first thing they say is that, does he have money? Does he have money to spend for the election? Because nobody wants to sponsor that guy. So it means that a guy who is good, who is competent, who is a good administrator, who has good pedigree and background, but does not have money or have a sponsor, cannot aspire to any serious office in Nigeria. So they're ruled out completely. So you either have money stolen or made or earned, or you have somebody sponsoring you who will influence you. So they won't vote for you in this country because you're a good person and you're a competent person. As a matter of fact, if you're a good or a competent person, they won't vote for you because they know that your being competent and capable and disciplined will affect their own ability to make money on the through graft. So this is where we are in Nigeria. It has become a culture. It has become a culture. And then we look at it, we laugh, we smile, we say it is politics. Okay? So my brother ran for election in Edo State the other day. It was clear, even to the blind, that he won that election. The election was somehow tinkered with and all that. Then when I asked people that what happened, yeah, he was in the wrong party. He was in the wrong party. What does that mean? Which party is the right party? Which party is the wrong party? How can you tell me that he was in the wrong party? That if he was in another party, he would have won the election? What does that mean? Parties compete one against the other. The person who wins, wins. The person who loses, loses. What they were openly admitting to me is that somehow or the other, they manipulated and tinkered with the results because he was not in the right party. What is the right party? Last year, PDP, or 5 years ago, PDP was in central government. Now it is APC. Why should one party be the right party and one party be the wrong party? The whole idea of politics and democracy is that parties should compete healthily. It's not that because you now control the center and you control the apparatus and the forces in the center, you now become the right party. Which party is right, which party is wrong, which party is competent, which party is not. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria, you don't even really have parties. You have platforms. You know, now I'm a bit confused, okay? There's APC, there's ADC, there's SDP, there's NDC. You don't know who is who, what is what. You don't know what they stand for. You don't know what they represent. You don't know what their ethos is, what their ethics is, what their morality is, what their policies and principles for national development is. All you know is that, this is where Atiku is, this is where Obi is, this is where Kwakwanso is, this is where Adebayo is, this is where Jagaban is. That's all you know. And those are the things that give the party a description, an appellation, and so on and so forth. We're so behind in terms of democracy and economic development. But having said so, I don't blame us because we're only 60 years old as a nation. And everybody seems to forget that it takes a while for a nation to evolve and to be built. We're 66 years old. That's young in terms of nation building. Britain is almost 4,000 years old. America, 250 years old. China, almost 5,000 years old. Israel, it has been there since almost 6,000 or 7,000 years old. So if you say that at 60 we are this where we are, it's to me it's understandable. I'm not bothered. I'm not too perturbed. I know that we have to go through our evolution. And the other thing that people forget is our foundation, our formation, our background, and so on and so forth. People tend to cut us off from that foundation and expect magic based on what they think it should be. It's not going to be like that. You know, the foundation is wrong, the foundation is faulty, and so on and so forth. And therefore, we should not look at Nigeria totally out of context. So when you look at it in a sum game, I think somehow we have been able to get ahead and be able to get some results of something or the other.
Yeah, the argument really is, and I will soon hand over to Jumoke. I think she has some questions. When you say we are just 60 years old, um, what you seem to be saying is that people progress gradually and make progress. But a lot of people will say to you today, Nigeria was better at 20 than it is at 30. It was better at 30 than it is at 40. So are we retrogressing or are we making progress? So that is really the question. If we are taking baby steps towards where we need to get to, then we are really making progress. But things just seem to be retrogressing. So when you make the argument that Nigeria is just 60 years old, so we still have time. Yes, I agree. Things can turn around. Okay. But the trajectory of things now only shows the 70s were better than the 80s. The 80s were better than the 90s. The 90s are better. So which kind of progress is that? So for
it
me,
depends on how you evaluate. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I agree. We may evaluate it one way or the other, but to be honest, and you have made the argument before, will this politics we are playing today get us to where we need to be? Or do we need to tinker with the way you've often made the argument that Nigeria is not a nation yet? All right. So we're just a country that was pushed together by all those people. And the divisions are becoming clearer every day. And we don't seem to be making the kind of progress. People just vote with their feet and vote with their stomach. And we are where we are today based on all of that. Okay. However, the other question I wanted to find out is on the economy. We have today, this government came in and, introduced the twin policy of deregulation and the measure of the exchange rate. Those two policies have sort of turned all the things around in the economic space. I know we all advocated for that. However, that has sort of put a lot of pressure on the citizens of this country. Is it the right thing that once you make a policy, you don't have a right to sit down and think about that policy again, irrespective of how it is affecting your people? Or can you sit down and say, yes, we took this decision, but this is how it has impacted our people. What can we do to, lessen the suffering on the people? Do you think that government is making that kind of rational decision to say, yes, this policy was necessary at the time we thought we made it? However, the kind of hardship it has brought on our people is unimaginable. What can we do again to ensure that the people are okay? What would you have to say to that?
People seem to think that the policies that are being made in Nigeria are being made in a vacuum and they're just being made here and there. Whether we like it or not, we would have gotten to this stage that we're at before we can come out of it, because what had been eating the wood had been eating the wood for a long time, and the decay was inevitable. And if we could not reverse that decay 25 years ago, this is where we would have found ourselves at this time. What the government has not done well enough of is to manage the information, the preparation, and the consequences of the actions that they took. So a friend of mine had an accident a couple of days ago, and I was in the hospital with him, and they needed to do for him an emergency operation, okay, to fix his hip. Okay, he had had the accident. The hip had been damaged. The pain was there. There was nothing anybody could do about the pain. Okay, the circumstances had happened. Okay, so the only way you could have stopped the pain was to have reversed the accident, which was now impossible. The pain was there. There's nothing anybody can do about that. The only way by which you can fix that pain is to cause a bit more pain on that body, okay, and affect the body one way or the other. Now, if you have the money to buy what you may call a numbing thing or anesthesia, you will put the anesthesia there. If you have the money to buy the anesthesia, you put it there to deaden the pain for a season. And then afterwards, the pain will come back. You put some more anesthetics and things like that. But before you perform the operation, you will call the patient and say, patient, you have to be patient. We're going to perform this operation on you. It's going to take you 3 hours. This is what we are going to do. This is the amount of pain you are going to feel. This is the subsequence of the thing. After the operation, you are going to use a traction for a season. You are not going to be able to walk for like 6 months. After 6 months, when there's healing and restoration, you'll get your activity back. This is the conversation that the government has not had with the people, to give them their expectation. If you are going to remove oil subsidy, the price of petrol is going to go up to 1,500 naira per this thing. If we do not remove subsidy in 9 months' time, we're not going to have one drop of petrol in this country, because we will not be able to have money to buy the petrol. So it's better we remove the subsidy now, let the price of petrol go up, let people be able to manufacture or bring in more petrol. In a year or 2 years' time, the price should come down to about 1,100 instead of 1,400. If we continue at that pace for another 3 or 4 years, the price should come down to 600. The people need to be informed and educated and shown what the track and the road track will be. The lots of things we need to turn Nigeria around are not things that can happen overnight, are things that will take time to do, because the things that were there before, that were doing the things that were supposed to be done, have over the years been destroyed. So Ajaokuta, that was built to give us steel, has not worked for 40 years. You are not going to build a new Ajaokuta in 2 days. It's going to take you a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years before the Ajaokuta will work. The refinery, Warri, Port Harcourt, Kaduna, they have not worked for over 20 years. There's no way that you are going to start to manufacture petroleum overnight. It's going to take you 1, 2, or 3 years to fix them if you face it genuinely. The only breather that we have now is the Dangote refinery. And Dangote refinery did not start yesterday. It started about 10 or 15 years ago, was when Dangote started working on this refinery. So this government is just lucky, very, very lucky, that this refinery kicked in at this time. They cannot take responsibility for it, neither can they take the credit for it. Okay, the man suffered, he went through a lot to get that refinery working. He was just dogged about it. Okay, and if anything at all, the government that should take credit for where Dangote is a little bit today, some of the military government and the government of Obasanjo. It was Obasanjo that called Aliko and said to him, what do I need to do to help you to bring down the price of cement? That's how a government thinks. What do I need to do to help the private sector, to help each other? And Aliko said, if you can do this and do this and do that, I will invest more in cement. From investing in cement all over the place, built about 4 or 5 factories in Nigeria and many across Africa, he had enough resource to now say, you know what, let me face this petroleum thing. Why can't the refineries work? Why? He tried to buy one of the refineries. He actually bought the refinery, I think between him and Femi Otedola or so. And then all of a sudden, the Yar'Adua government came and reversed that project. I think that's what got Aliko a little bit irritated and annoyed, that I tried to buy a refinery to turn it around. You reverse the project, the thing, let me start my own, fresh from start. And then that motivated him. And now we get the results of that. But that is a 15-year plan, not an overnight plan. A lot of the things that's going to change the trajectory of Nigeria need 10, 15, 20 years before we can see the results. What a good government should be doing is to show us the track of where we're going and appeal to us to bear some of the pain. There will be pain if you perform an operation. If you are giving birth to a baby, the mother will go through pain and she has to bear that pain. There's no alternative. You can give her epidural if you like, but after the epidural, the pain will come back. Now, when it's a C-section, it's even worse. Where are we in Nigeria? Obasanjo says we're on the operating table. Okay, I think it's him that says so. Maybe Danjuma, I can't remember. Say we're on the operating table. We really are comatose as a nation because of years of mosquito bites, years of drinking dirty water, years of not taking your medications on time, years of poor nourishment, and so on and so forth.
Okay, Pastor, but do you think we are on the right track? Do you think we are on the right track now? So we are bearing all this pain. We are bearing all this pain right now. Are we going to see the result anytime soon? Because, I mean, right from Babangida days, SAP, we've been bearing pain. Everybody comes and tells us, and we see them telling us to bear the pain. And we see how they are fretting away the money they are making supposedly to alleviate that pain. So where are we? Where are we going?
Can I also interject with that? Sorry, because of time. Oga VP, I just want us to go back to rebuilding. And one of the reasons I want us to set the context for what's going on. Last week, Mr. President, you had a very passionate plea, and everyone could see that you were looking to set the stage for what Nigeria needs to get back on track. So I would like us to bring that back to that conversation. You have a clean slate. You have the audience, not just Nigerian audience or global audience, that we now have a blank sheet of paper to begin to chart the course for the Nigeria we need or the Nigeria we want. We know all the issues with Nigeria. We've had a lot of series here, whether it's economy, whether it's corruption, whether it is the governance structure. We know all those issues. So I want you to bring it back to what kind of leadership does Nigeria need going forward that is going to help structure and redirect the nation to where it needs to go?
We know the kind of leadership that Nigeria needs. And maybe I should answer Sonny's question and come back to yours. You know, the biggest problem with Nigeria is corruption. And until you get rid of corruption, you cannot see the kind of progress that you need or that you are desiring. So a lot of the, what you may call, policies, they are good policies. Okay, removal of subsidies is a good policy. But now you hear that they've brought it back from the back because of corruption. So you take one step forward, 2 steps backwards. Or somehow or the other, the person implementing the thing, if you don't bribe him or give him some money here and there, he will not see it to the end, and so on and so forth. So unless you get rid completely of corruption or reduce it to a minimum, we will not see the kind of progress that we want in Nigeria over the time that we want it. It's almost impossible. Okay? You cannot in one stage discipline a child and in the next stage give him sweets and a gun and things that will spoil his teeth, and then tomorrow you discipline him, then the day after you spoil him. The child is going to be confused, and Nigeria is confused. Then coming back to Jumoke's question, we know the kind of leader we want in Nigeria. The issue is, how do we get that kind of leader? How? What are we going to do as Nigerians to get that kind of leader? The first thing, and let me repeat this one more time, Nigeria was designed to be exactly where it is by the people that designed Nigeria and Africa. Please note that Africa and the governance that we have in Africa was not the choice of Africans. We had no say in the kind of colonization and the governance that we had. We had no very little say in the exploitation of our resources. I told the people in church that I went to Portugal a few weeks ago for Mommy Esco's 70th birthday. I was looking for a museum that showed me how the explorers left Portugal in the 13th and 14th century to come to Africa, that told me the history of where Nigeria is where it is today. I stumbled on a building and they called it the House of Chocolates, and they told me more than I needed to know. How can I come to Portugal to find the House of Chocolates in Portugal with pictures of beautiful cocoa pods that I used to see on my mother's farm in Ibadan, on my father's farm in Benin when I was a young child, the cocoa pods, and it gave me a feeling of nostalgia. Why? Because people like Vasco da Gama, Bartholomew Dias, and the Henry the Navigator left Portugal in 14 something, 1499, 1422, looking not to develop Africa, but looking for spices, looking for ginger, looking for cowries, looking for elephant tusks and things like that. When I went into this museum, it took us on the history of the exploration, and in there I saw chili, I saw peppers, I saw what they
He's frozen.
Pastor has entered history lane.
Yes. Faye, can you please check?
Yeah. It's okay. We'll soon start opening the floor up for questions. So
There's
I
one
see
more
Boniface
question.
Chizia. Yeah, I know. Don't go ahead. You ask your questions. I think after that, you take other people that put up their hands earlier have dropped it, but they can put it up again so that
okay.
we
we have two now.
We have two. There were a few people that had put up their hands earlier.
Yeah, I know. There was Sonia and there was Said.
Yeah, there was Said. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was somebody else. Yeah.
Okay. I think Pastor is back in the room now. My own question is, again, going back on conversation from last week, because a lot of people were excited, and I want him to paint that picture of hope, because we are at that point where we kind of feel very hopeless. We keep hearing about all the things going wrong, and we do know that a lot of things have gone wrong. But there is a path forward. There is a plan for us to be able to rebuild Nigeria. So we need to start discussing what those plans are. I think we've talked about this here, and you've also at the end of each conversation, what are the recommendations going forward? And from last week, I believe it was after party. I wasn't here last week, but I got a lot of calls about the excitement. Like, people in the diaspora were like really geared up. Okay, what do we need to do? So especially for the young ones that are joining us every Thursday.
Jumoke, can I just say something? Can I say something? He's not back.
Okay.
But, we keep saying this and that, and we want to run away from. I think we need to sort of do a poll and really evaluate, because Pastor was talking about the parties. Parties are no longer relevant in today's Nigeria. People are looking at the individuals, their integrity, and whether they can be trusted to do what they say they will do or not. So I would like us to focus a bit on the individuals who are rising up to lead us. And amongst all the people that have presented themselves, can we truly evaluate every one of them and see who scores highest in terms of, we did this in 2023, in terms of so many parameters. And then we can say to the people, we have assessed all these people, 6 of them, 7 of them, this is how we rank them. If you want Nigeria to change, go vote for this one. Because otherwise we will just be talking, but we are not offering, because this is the democracy we have. And the only way to change our system is through this democracy.
And that was my leading question. That's why I asked that question, is what kind of leader? Yes.
We must be bold enough.
Yes.
To do an assessment of all the people who are presenting themselves, maybe bring them here sometimes for interrogation. And then based on that, we can say to the people, we have looked at all these people based on social criteria. This is what we think.
Okay.
Is
Pastor is
back?
back. Yeah, he's back. He's back on. So I think that question, well, I think
go ahead
think
with your
back.
question.
One question.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about the the connection and the power and all that. But yeah, you can see that I'm having to use another device. So this is what it is. I said, what I was saying was that Africa was designed to be where it is. We're a commodity. We are a commodity in the hands of the Western powers. Okay? Somebody was looking at the World Cup the other day and said, I'm going to support France. Why are you supporting France? He says, all their players are Africans. Same thing for Portugal. Same thing for even Spain. At least one or half of their players are African. As for Britain, in fact, these days, you see a team. In that team, you find a Ghanaian, you find a Nigerian, you find an Ivorian, you find a Senegalese, you find a Moroccan, you have an Egyptian in one team for one nation playing football for that nation. And if you saw your World Cup, because we are a commodity and we still are a commodity. So the first thing we need to knock into the heads of every African is that you must stop being a commodity. You must stop looking at yourself as a commodity. You must stop looking up to the colonial masters for direction, for help, for hope, for education, for advancement. We must do what the Chinese did. Go to them, steal their technology, bring it back to Africa, and magnify it. So what we need to do, and what ALG is struggling to do, and fighting to do, and shouting to do, is number one, we must change the thinking of our so-called leaders. We must change their thinking. We must keep speaking to them that Oga Tinubu, think differently. Stop thinking of just winning elections and stop thinking of just thinking of how you are going to make more money, how you are going to bribe some more people to vote for you and all that. Stop it for a second and think of how you are going to truly develop Nigeria and make Nigeria a first world nation. It's more than you. It's beyond you. It's not just all about you. You must be ready to sacrifice to make Nigeria a first world nation. That is what Nigeria needs. You need to talk to all the governors and tell them to stop thinking the way they are thinking. They should think differently and think more of getting us out of the shackles of these so-called colonial masters, IMF, World Bank, and all their acolytes and their instruments of oppression and suppression. We should stop it. We should stop it if we thought more of how we can make Nigeria and Africa much more productive, we'll be a much more better people. Why are you going to France every 2 weeks and every 2 months? For what? When you should be bringing France to Nigeria. What do they have that we don't have? We are smart, we're intelligent, we have capacity, we have resources. Why are you going there? Why are you going there? What are you going to do there? Why are you going to visit King Charles, your former colonial masters? What do you want from him? What is he going to do for you? We should go there and tell him to give us reparations. We should go there and tell him to bring his industries or so-called technology back to Nigeria. We should go back and steal their technology and bring it back, not to go there and be having dinners and thinking that we are doing a good thing. Who is he? He came and colonized us, messed us up, and changed our culture and made us feel inferior. Till today, we are wearing shirt, coat, and tie and thinking that our agbada is not what it should be because of him. And then you think that it's of benefit for us to go and visit him. For what?
Okay, Pastor,
we should think differently. And listen to me, Sonny. Unless we start thinking differently as Nigerians and as Africans, we will suffer the colonial mentality of the mind. Our colonization now is in the mind, and we must change the mind. And that's the only thing that we can do. And unless we change the mind, we'll be wasting our time. How do we have good leaders in Nigeria? Make sure that every Nigerian is a good person. When he's a good person, when he becomes a leader, he'll be a good leader. So what we need is a total reorientation. That's the only way we can solve Nigeria's problem. Or we are fortunate that God gives us a Moses or God gives us a David, one way or the other. But it will be by pure accident, not through these processes that we have, because the people who are handling these processes are beneficiaries of this process. So why would they want to change it? It's benefiting them personally. So
There's
they're not
no
going to
reason.
change it. There's
So
no
Jumoke
reason.
has a question she wants to ask you, and a few other people on the platform, they want to ask you, questions concerning this. We know if we leave you, you can give us a talk for the next
Well,
hour.
you are the
Jumoke,
ones
go
who
ahead.
involved me here. And you know how
Yes,
passionate
yes.
I am about this thing.
We
So if
do,
you
we
want
do,
me
we
to
do.
speak, let me speak. If you don't want me to speak, let me keep quiet and mind my business. Because even
No,
what
no,
I'm saying, I'm putting
there are
my
people
entire life
that
at risk.
there
And
are
I
people
don't
that want
really
to ask specific questions so that maybe you
let
can
them ask
address
first
their
questions. I
concern.
will answer them. I
Yes,
have
that's
lived and breathed and thought Nigeria since I was aware of myself.
okay.
It's not
Jumoke,
today.
go ahead.
So no, we are probably going to have another session for my own questions because of time, I want to yield because my questions are more on rebuilding Nigeria, and you talk very passionately about what that looks like, and that's what I was hoping we would get out of this conversation. So maybe we'll have a follow-up because it's not a one-off conversation, especially as we're preparing now the next 6 months. What is that? I mean, to give Nigerians hope for us to have active participation in selecting the right leaders, in changing our mindset, in wrestling the soul of Nigeria back from all this corruption and all these things that have befallen us. But let me yield to those that are looking, that need to ask you questions, and then we definitely will bring you back on again for us to have that roadmap. Just the roadmap for that to that Nigeria we want, because it's going to be a journey.
I will come back, but Jumoke, let me speak to what you just said for 1 minute. We're already a bit late in being able to bring to table the right kind of leaders, at least for 2027. The horse has bolted out of the barn. Now you are faced with only 4 choices. Mr. Tinubu, Mr. Atiku, who has been at this thing since 1999 or even before, Mr. Obi, and maybe Mr. Adebayo, who is like the slightly new entrant, because the process that we should have engaged in 4 years ago, everybody was twiddling their thumbs and waiting for the process to again produce exactly what it has produced. Okay, and if you look at the 4 of them, you can't even say they're not marginally different from one another, to be honest. They're not. So we have to go back to the drawing board, and we have to start now to do things a little bit differently to get a different result. We have to start now. If you want to find out what we should do, we can then engage another conversation to do it. But we have to start now. And we need people of courage. What is missing again in Nigeria is that there are not enough people of courage because government is too powerful. They can't speak. They're afraid to speak. Because if you speak, you might have your health or your financial health or your personal health damaged. And government should stop that. They should stop threatening people. They should allow people to speak. Because if they hear what people are saying, they might be better able to govern the people they want to govern. It's not all about them. They should keep understanding that. It's not all about them. And the irony is, if they govern right, they themselves will benefit in the long run. They will benefit. There's no way they will not benefit. It's impossible to be a government person in Nigeria or to be a leader of Nigeria, and then you go away empty, except, of course, if you are really greedy. So these are the problems we're having. Is the level of greed, and we have to handle that. So anybody wants to ask me any question, I'm happy to answer your questions, but we will get Nigeria right. We will get Nigeria right. We will get Nigeria right. By God's grace, we will get Nigeria right.
Amen. So we need to start building that roadmap to getting Nigeria right. Mr. Boniface, please go ahead. We're going to keep it short because we have a lot of hands up so that we can finish on time. Go ahead, sir. We've asked you to unmute.
Well, thank you very much. I've not seen my friend Ituah being this passionate, So, what I want to do is we talk about hope. I see a ray in the cloudy sky. I see central bank, and for a few days now, I've been upbeat about Cardoso. I think that we should begin to sing his praise. Today I was on television, I was on channels, and I did a paper about him. He made a presentation, So I think that he's an example. He's doing the job. It's still work in progress. He's not finished yet. But we can begin to see the profile of what we needed to do, to get us to dig ourselves out of the hole we find ourselves in. I think we can begin to see it in the person of Cardoso, so the caliber of the person, the values he brings to the table. And Ituah says that among those we have, there's no difference. Essentially, there are definite differences, because what's the problem we have in Nigeria is corruption. And so we look at them, somebody stands out, so we look at the value they bring to the table. And that's what's important. Nobody has a monopoly for ideas. And the Nigerians are we have knowledgeable people. We have people who are also passionate about Nigeria. But what is happening is that we are corrupt. We come with a transactional mentality. And that's the problem we have. And until and unless we can tackle that. So if you ask me, I drop a name. All of us know him. Whom, if we put there, there'll be a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for keeping that. Prince Unoso, please go ahead, sir. 1 minute.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, my mentor, Pastor Ituah. 2 or 3 quick ones. Number one, we know to execute government policies is through the civil servants. And the danger is that the civil servants' welfare is very poor in Nigeria. So you have people who are preparing for retirement. Is there a way we can encourage the civil servants to be able to start a business that may not have a direct conflict of interest before they retire, so that encourages quick retirement so that they can face their job instead of being involved in politics like Buhari government allowed them? Number 2, is there a way to encourage an organization, a group that protects genuine, proven, integrous activists? Because since government, we want to pick them out either way, is there a way to raise a group that can protect them? And then finally, is there a way we can encourage possession of guns to stop this nonsense which some government uses even to intimidate the people? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'll take one more comment and you can speak to those 3, sir. Busari Isiaka, we've asked you to unmute. Please go ahead and make your comments or questions.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Pastor Ituah, and thanks for having me here. So my questions are 2. The first one is we've been talking about trying to fix Nigeria, but there's this problem of identity. The three major tribes, none is seeing one as brothers or sisters. So which means this brings us back to the absence of a federal spirit, a federating spirit that is binding us together. So I would like to ask, shouldn't we try to identify a binding factor first before we even try to start seeing how we can manage the situation? I think there is need for us to identify a factor that is binding us all together. The United States knows that common security is what is bringing the 13 colonies that formed the Philadelphia Declaration together. What is the one for Nigeria? That is one. Number 2 is, in the case of Nigeria, we have parties without ideologies. So would you support that where many individuals go into parties and try to disrupt them from within, or they form a new party on their own and try to compete with the existing ones? Thank you.
Thank you. You can take those 3 comments and we'll take the next set.
All right. I missed my friend, Mr. Chize's comment, Boniface. I think he was speaking about identifying a particular leader and he mentioned a name. Can you remind me?
He had talked about the good work Cardoso was doing at the central bank. That was basically what he was speaking about, and that he has a ray of hope that there's hope for progress in Nigeria. That was the context of his discussion. I don't know that he asked the question specifically.
Let me say that I agree with him. Yemi Cardoso is a friend of mine. In fact, I can say he's a brother. He comes from a very strict and strong Catholic background. There are 3 of them brothers. I know them. Maybe there's a 4th, the younger one. But they are all extremely well brought up. One was a consultant, Toki. He was my senior in Price Waterhouse. The other was a banker, also the husband of Ameyo Cardoso, who lost her life during the health scare that we had a few years ago. Very great guy too. And then, of course, Yemi. Very, very well brought up. Their father was in government in Lagos and probably at the federal, and very strict, very, very focused. And he has done extremely well, I must say, in the central bank. And he has run it on strict principles and tried to do his best as a professional. And these are the kinds of things that Nigeria throws off from time to time. So I must congratulate the president on his choice of Mr. Cardoso for the central bank. And you can see the stability of the Naira, the non-intrusion of CBN into what doesn't concern CBN, the looking at policies strictly and making it what it should be. And this is the kind of thing we want to look for in Nigeria. The right people in the right place. The right people in the right place. The right people in the right place. Mr. Cardoso refuses to be a politician as such. I'm aware that he just wants to do his work professionally. The right people in the right place with a reasonable amount of contentment. And that can throw up for us. And the people are there. The people are there. The job of a leader is to find the right people, put them in the right place, and get them to work. But sometimes our politics would not allow it because you are negotiating all the time. And sometimes you have to make compromises and put some people in somewhere where they should not be. And that's why Lagos State worked very well in Asiwaju's first term. He had Cardoso, he had Yemi Osinbajo, he had Wale Edun, he had one or two other people, Muiz Banire, and so on and so forth, people who were truly, truly passionate about moving Lagos State forward. And those were the engine room of the government. And they laid the foundation for whatever development you are finding in Lagos today. Jide Sanwo-Olu was part of those people at that time, as well as Hamzat. They were there. Hamzat was brought in from abroad to come and join the government. And because the Asiwaju found him to be a guy of skill and competence. And that's one good thing you must say in choosing that team, okay? Maybe on a national basis is a bit more difficult to really find competence. I don't know, but this is where we are. As for civil servants, my friend Prince, helping them to start little careers and jobs outside of civil service, it's not a bad idea. But I will do that for those you want to eliminate out of the service, okay? Because they are not quite competent and they're not doing their work well. So you may need to train or retrain them. Shell, Mobil, Ajib, companies like that, they do that from time to time to take away some people who are not productive. But what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore was to recruit the brightest and the best into the civil service and to pay them well and to guarantee them a good retirement when they left the civil service so that they could focus on their job. That policy, that principle still has not changed. And that is what Shell does. That's what Mobil does. So it limits, I won't say eliminates, corruption to a large degree. If you are working for Shell, you will be well paid, well remunerated, your health is taken care of, you are encouraged to build your own house, maybe even a couple of houses, you are encouraged to invest, you are encouraged so that you can focus on your job. That is what we want to do for our civil servants. That is what the civil service was when my mother was in the civil service. You were a civil servant, you were respected, you had money to build, you were given loan to build your house, you were given money to buy your car, you were given money so that you could educate your children properly, and you had a good retirement benefit at the end of your job, and you are respected. You've left the civil service, you either started lecturing here and there and doing one or two things, or by the time you left, in my own mother's case, she had started a poultry, which she lived on for the rest of her life. That is what we want to do towards the end game. But unless we reward the civil servants well and pay them based on performance and promote them based on performance, we will not be able to have the kind of civil service we need. So it goes a little bit beyond just giving them sidekick jobs. We need to pay them well, ab initio. They need to be well paid. If we're not paying them well, we're making a lip service to fighting corruption. A man cannot have $2 billion passing his table. You are paying him 200,000 a month. It's not going to work. It doesn't make sense. You are not giving him the reward for the authority and the responsibility that he has. So we need to change that thinking. Reduce the volume of people in the civil service. Stop using it as your unemployment benefit area, and find competence, capable people, reward them well. The same thing with the universities and the lecturers. When I was growing up, the most respected people were number one, civil servants, number two, lecturers, number three, business people, number four, military. Because at that time, most people who went into the military went into that military because they couldn't make it, as it were, in other areas. But now, thankfully, that has been reversed, and people with quality, competence, capability are now going into the military. Why was it like that then? Because the British brought their officers and they were looking for foot soldiers, the cannon fodder. They were looking for people who would just obey and instruct. That was the military they formed until Nigerians took over the military and reversed that process. That's why initially most people who went to the military were just ordinary, simple people. But now, thankfully, that has been reversed. So we need to also, activists, I don't know how we can create something that will protect activists. Activists have to come together, hold their own hands together, build their own structure to make sure that they are going to protect themselves. Civil society, business people may support them one way or the other, but government will not support activists and protect them. What you need is strong and firm human rights, which is again missing in Nigeria. What is the right of a human being? Can you arrest me for no reason? Can you detain me for longer than 24 hours? Do I not have a right to a lawyer and legal representation? Do I not have a right to have myself bailed if it's a bailable offense? Why do you oppress me? Because you are playing on the ignorance that I have and the knowledge of the law. So we need to have pure and good human rights that will make sure that a man can speak his opinion without being victimized. There's a place in London called Hyde Park Corner. You can go to Hyde Park Corner, put your soapbox on the ground and start to say anything you like about government and governance, and nobody can come and threaten you there. We must allow people to speak. Of course, if you defame somebody and you cannot defend it, the matter should end up in court. Because you're a government worker, you cannot say, I defamed you. You come to my house, you arrest me, you carry me, put me inside jail. It doesn't. If I defame you, go to court. If you prove your defamation in court, let court convict me and punish me appropriately. That is the rule of law. So we must make sure that there's the rule of law in Nigeria, and that will protect the activists from any oppression. We must, I don't know about encouraging the possession of a gun. I think that is risky. I'm not sure we have enough knowledge and education to do that. But there are laws, there are gun laws. If you have you can get a license to get a gun of some sort or the other.
Network again.
In the Nigeria that we're in. So that's not a new thing. No, I think somebody was trying to catch my attention. Then Mr. Busari was talking about binding factor. I agree. But again, as I said, the British that is what they wanted. They didn't want us to be cohesive and totally united. They divided, they ruled, they caused confusion, they caused betrayal, they caused doubt amongst ourselves. They created all manners of things, had separate side negotiations with each tribe, and they made it in such a way that one tribe would dominate the other, the one they thought was their better partner. Again, you can't blame them. because, quite frankly, they were protecting their own interest. But the problem now is Nigerians and Africans should wake up.
Thank you. So we have quite a few hands up.
We must get out of this thing. So the binding factor should be collective development, and emancipation, and extraction from the colonial lineage that's on our necks. That's the binding factor. But I'm surprised that none of our leaders has come up with that as something that we should rally around together with, because most of them are partners with these colonial masters and they're making money from them. I told somebody the other day that corruption is an English word. It was not available, at least in the Yoruba lexicon. There was no such thing like bribe in Yoruba lexicon. It wasn't available. The Yoruba word for bribe is riba, is an adulteration of bribe, because we were not people of that mind originally. We were introduced to it by these same Western people who are now telling us that we're fabulously. So I'm available for the next set of questions.
So we have 8 hands up, and I'm just going to call because these are the only hands we're going to take. We have Mr. Segus Ogun. We've asked you to unmute. Please go ahead. We have Susan Oyemade. Samsung, please rename yourself. Then we have Loretta Langley. We have Sonia. We have Augustus Asuko, and we have Olufumi Adegbaju and Chinye Henrietta. Those are the hands we'll be taking up this evening. So please go ahead, Mr. Oguns, with your comment or your question. We've asked you to unmute.
I need some more paper.
Mr. Oguns?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, good evening all.
Good evening.
I totally agree with Sonny earlier and with Pastor Ituah that corruption is a major problem and we must tackle it. I went to a television station today and somebody asked that where Gbadabia Miller was your speaker when you were in the house and he's been into everything. And I just told the person straight ahead, if the president is not supporting what is happening, or Gbadabia Miller is not representing the president, all this will not be happening. If you have a Peter Obi there from day one who says, I would not take money from anybody, my wife will not, my children, because they were not voted for, they will not be involved. So nobody can take anything and will be protected. So we still go back to that. And Pastor, just to add, that corruption was not in our lexicon. Well, in the north, it's called Goro, Kola. So we have a bit of it, but of course, I believe it originated from the West, from the Europeans. So we have to battle corruption to a standstill. In Abuja, you are driving, people don't obey traffic lights. But when I get there and the light is on red, I stop. And guess what? People behind me begin to stop. So till we tackle corruption head on, we aren't going nowhere. And we must tell ourselves the truth. This government do not care about corruption. They just want power. I think somebody said that when I was pastor. All they just want is power. And we are traveling on this road. It's not taking us anywhere. So I don't know whether it's the question I'm asking or I'm contributing, but let me use the floor.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, sir. We are going to have Susan Oyemade. Please go ahead. If you could keep it to 1 minute or less, we would appreciate that. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Pastor, because I've been seeing how you're so passionate. But we have been focusing on the people in government and ministers and everybody. Have we ever thought about the populace? What is their roles in all this problem? Because apart from politicians, what about individuals? What about what they are doing towards actually destroying this country? Because we're talking about government. What about our people? We're talking about beliefs. You tell somebody you're going to Nigeria. Nigeria, where are you going to Nigeria? And then what about their thoughts? Their country, it will never be good. It can never be good. Why are we saying that? The words we say to the country every day. So let's go spiritual. because your thoughts and your word every day is coming upon this country. I see this country as a beautiful place, and I will never say nothing will work. Things will work. So let's focus on our people. The actions, people are doing the wrong thing, like the gentleman I just said. The people don't obey red light. They go, so why are we now just focusing on those people? Why can't we not focus on individuals? When I change, the change can help my country. So a new me, a new Nigeria. It has to be collection of government and all the people. That's my own contribution. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ma. Samson, can you please identify yourself, because it's the name of a device? 1 minute or less.
Thank you so much, Madam. I'm Professor Timothy Benganubi. I've tried to change it. I couldn't. Probably I'm an old screw. I don't know why. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you so much, Pastor, and the President. Thank you for this platform. A lot has been said by the pastor tonight. How I wish all those things that Pastor said printed out for study, for interrogation, for future debate. He has said a lot, and those are the nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. It takes understanding this country before you can fix this country. He has mentioned the internal forces. He has mentioned the external forces. I want to conclude by saying, if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? There was a mention of Nigeria being better at 20. Tonight, it was mentioned tonight, that Nigeria was better at 20 than it is now at 60. And I wrote on the comment section that we have to go back and look at the structure that produced that better Nigeria when Nigeria was 20. It was confederation. It was confederation. Regional government. Regional government. Healthy competition within regions.
Thank you,
For
sir.
us to have a central government in a country where the foundation had always been on competition, where a country has sworn that they will rule, they were born to rule in their plate number.
My apologies, sir. So, my apologies. We have so many hands up. I'm sorry to cut you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all we have said tonight. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We hope you join us again next week, Thursday, where we'll be able to take more questions. May I have Loretta Langley? If you can take 4, sir, and then we'll take the last four set. Loretta, please go ahead and unmute. We've asked you to unmute. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this. Pastor Ituah, this is a wonderful forum. I always enjoy it every week whenever I can show up. This topic today is very, very interesting to me, because I've always wondered why Nigeria is the way, why we're just taking the turn the way we are right now, because Nigeria truly was a better country when I was younger than what we have now. But one of my questions has been asked already, and that's concerning whether we have, how we can legally bear arms in this country, because I think if we are allowed to legally bear arms, some of us should, as citizens, I think that will help, to diffuse some of this insecurity in the country, and where people know that, yes, that you can react. I think that will help to reduce, the level of insecurity that we have right now. And then secondly, I wanted to ask, something's up.
The time is up. 10 seconds. Okay, you can finish up with 10 seconds if you go ahead.
Okay, another thing quickly is that what does it take for Nigeria to, I think we are being called docile. We're not able to protest. And I mean, we see all those things going wrong, and we just seem to just, tolerate it, and it keeps getting worse. What do we do? What do we do in this country to really express our anger? How do we go about this without getting killed? That's my question.
Thank you so much. Sir, can you take all those 4 and then we'll take the last 4 sets?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to thank my brother Sergius Ogun. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your great support when we're in the trenches, and God will bless you. I agree with you absolutely that corruption is the bane of Nigeria. And indeed, they may have had it in the north, Goro, Kola, or whatever it is. And indeed, when we're growing up, we used to call corruption Kola. So now I see where that Kola came from as Goro. Maybe they did have it up there, but most of the area down south here, people really didn't have that Lexus. You know, in those days in Nigeria, in southern Nigeria at least, you put your yam on the road, you put a coin besides it, and you went away. And people will be passing by, and they will notice that you have yam, and they notice that there's a coin there. So they know that that's how much you want for your yam. So they either put the coin there, leave it, and pick up the yam, or leave it. When you come back, you meet your yam, you meet your coins, or you meet your no yam, and your coins have been put there. Because we were a society that had a way of dealing with dishonesty, of dealing with whatever it was, stealing, thieving, of dealing with people who misbehave. It was a collective society where society took charge of the training of the child, where there were rules of marriage, rules of disobedience, rules of misbehavior, rules of disrespect to elders, and so on and so forth. And people lived by the rules in a very, very peaceful environment. And then tribes fought one another for land, for pride, for disobedience, for this, for that. The tribes fought one another from time to time for whatever reason. But most of the things were that people broke cultural norms, and people fought for dignity, for the right of the person. But we didn't really have all these things. But it was the British that came with their education, and they found that if you could entice people, you know, Awolowo said it. You know, he says, when we went for the conferences, okay, while my friends were busy carousing with women of easy virtue, who gave them those women of easy virtue? It was their colonial friends, and the people conducting the thing gave men of. He says, I was at my post. I was at my post doing my job, because only the deep can call to the deep. He says, if I went to the discotheque that they were inviting me to, if I broke my leg, what will I tell my jewel of inestimable value when I get back home? So they taught us those things. They enticed us, they induced us, and they used it to blind us. And they're still doing it till today. They're still doing it till today, giving us Western orientation and Western interest in exchange for our values. Now, my dear auntie and sister, Mrs. Oyemade, she says the populace and the role of the people. I did say it. I said the way out of Nigeria issue is to educate and orientate the average Nigerian. Until the average Nigerian starts thinking right, we're going to have a big problem. If we have good Nigerians thinking right at the lower level, by the time they become leaders, you have right leaders thinking right. So we must deal with the education, orientation, reorientation of the average Nigerian, and hope that we can produce good Nigerians that will speak well about Nigeria. I say anywhere that Nigeria is the best country in the world. Our gold, our lithium, our tantalite, our columbite, our cocoa, our oil, our gas, our food, our shrimps, even our people, extremely brilliant and intelligent people. All we need to do is to have an ethos and a cohesive way of working. Professor Tim Nubi, and indeed we might invite you and Sergius also to say your own points on this program at one time. You did mention about all that I have said, that you are in agreement with it, and you did go and remind us that it was the regional governments that we had. So it was the regional governments that we fought for, okay? But the British were very smart. They saw that these governments were producing advancement at a way they did not want. So they created the confusion that led to the coups and the counter coups and the centralized government. Most of what our good friend General Ironsi said in unitary government was induced by the British. They said that this is the way that which we can conquer these people. And they did it not just in Nigeria. They did it in Ghana. They did it in many places where they had influence, because they did it. And the Belgians did it with Lumumba. They caused overthrows of government that they did not like. And even till today, America is doing it across the world, overthrowing governments, causing confusion for their own benefit. And this is where we have found ourselves. So, as I said, Nigerians collectively must now wake up and smell the coffee and face a common enemy. And our common enemy, our previous colonizers. Those are our common enemy. They're the people who are still standing at the gates of Nigeria, taking our resources and making sure that we're not able to make progress. As soon as the military came in and we had this unitary government problem, we forgot our regions. You know, somebody tells me, and I don't know if it is true or not, that when they saw Awolowo spending money on free education, they said, this is not what we sent you there to do. This is not what we want. You are not supposed to educate these people. Our education was supposed to be just sufficient for us to provide support to the colonial government. All this education that's now bringing out agitation and bringing out intelligent people, that was not part of the plan. But, you know, with God, somehow things slip through. You know, and I see the hand of God in all this, going spiritual. I see the hand of God moving all these things. I see the hand of God. You know, it took God 400 years to get the Israelis out of Egypt. You know, some of these things take time because they walk generation by generation and a reorientation of generations. So we are still working it work. And that's when I say to Sonny that Nigeria is a young nation. It was a little bit up in arms, saying, how can I say it's a young nation? But things have to evolve. Things have to evolve. How many of our people have been able to get the so-called Western education that we are all clamoring for? And today, if you are not AI proficient, you're almost an illiterate. So what are we talking about? The world is moving so fast that if we are not ready to move with it, we're not going to get it right. So one of the things we must invest in Nigeria is education and enlightenment and empowerment of the average person. I must drive it as an important thing. My sister Loretta was talking about, she wants us to legally bear arms. That's a chicken and an egg. I'm not sure, pull and push. I don't know if we have all the maturity to bear arms. I don't know if we have all the self-respect to bear arms. I don't know if people will not become reckless and abuse the bearing of arms and turn ourselves into a carnage point and so on and so forth. In America, where they have free arms and all that, we see the confusion it creates. You know, a man will walk into a school, just shoot all the children because he's feeling a little bit low, a little bit bad. Imagine what will happen in Nigeria if people had that opportunity. Imagine the kind of things that will happen with road rage in Nigeria, that already you don't bear arms. Somebody drives badly in front of you, you block the car, you come out, you bring your wrench, you hit him across the face because you think you're a big man. Imagine if the man was carrying a gun, what he would do. So we need to be a bit careful about that and hope that we can get our security right.
Thank you. So before we take the next 4 sets, we have quite a lot of devices here. We just want to be sure that you are not hackers. So please go ahead and rename yourself so that we can know who you are, or you can just put your name in the chat room. Thank you very much. Mr. Sheyi Obieson, I know you had your hand up for a long time. So please go ahead with your comment or question. We're going to keep it to a minute or less, and then we'll take the last 3 sets after him. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Jamoke. I am Dr. Sheyi Obieson from PhD. And it's true, I've raised my head up a long time because as Pastor was talking, the thoughts were just coming through my mind. But the one I want to focus on is this issue of corruption did not start today. It did not start 2 generations, 4 generations away. If you recall, when the colonial masters came, our rulers then, the so-called credible leaders then were bribed easily with mirror, toys, gin, and all that. And their generation, or the next generation, gave birth to the streams of leaders that Nigeria had thereafter in the First Republic. And it is their beneficiaries that have been turning up since then. And so in Nigeria, I bet in Africa, corruption is part of our DNA. So what do we do? The way I look at it is that for
your time is up, sir. Sorry about that. Apologies.
Jumoke,
10 seconds.
let him conclude.
Oh, let him finish.
Conclude.
Okay.
Please.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor.
Please make it quick, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so for everything that we be doing, corruption will stay forever unless there's what I call ethics and governance. If you do something wrong, you are punished for it, and there are consequences. The issue is that people do something wrong and there are no penalties. Even where there are penalties, where are the rule of law? Where's the justice in the penalties? And so for me, that's the main issue. And then I think we can have independent candidates for elections. That will work for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have more hands coming up. I don't know if you want to take them. Sonia, please go ahead with your question. And then we have Augustus and Chinye, but a few other hands have come up. Please go ahead, Sonia.
Good evening, everyone. Mine is more like a contribution. I just want to say, and I'm going to say this thing with all sense of humility and sincerity. Change does not take forever to come. I remember when Fashola came on board, he said that somebody that wants to go to the next class does not need to come back again. If you want to write an exam for promotion exam to the next class, you just do it once and for all very well. And he came, and we saw the fantastic work that he did in the very first term. So what I'm saying is this: we have seen all the men that they brought, all the people that are contesting for the post of president, and we know the accident, the record of each and every one of them. We know it's there on the open, it's not hidden. Sometimes I want to cringe when I want to say that sometimes we are being sentimental. I'm sorry to say. We know that a man called Peter Obi has said, go and verify, go and check. Said it with boldness, go and check. And we are seeing it. But I don't know why we don't want to do the right thing. And it's only the truth that can set us free. The way we are now, only the truth that can set us free. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Augustus, please go ahead. We've asked you to comment. We've asked you to unmute, I mean. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you, Augustus.
Hear myself.
So, okay. Maybe his audio was. We can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Augustus Asuko. Pastor, thank you so much. I could see the passion and the love that comes out of your heart for the nation. And I want also to believe, like you rightly said, this nation is going to work. It will work and must work. God is going to intervene. Now, my very first question is that this level of love that comes out of your heart, how do you think that other leaders can also embrace such? Is there anything they can do? Because I believe that if they love this nation, they won't do what they are doing. They have seen this nation as a looting ground, not their love homes. Their kids don't stay here. None of their family members stays here. So what I'm asking is that this level of love, how can it be impacted into the lives of the nation can move forward? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Can we take Chineye, and then you can address that, then we'll take the last 4 sets. We'll see if it's the last one. Chineye, please go ahead. We've asked you to unmute.
Hey now.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, it's great to know to see a passionate man like Pastor, but passion in Nigeria, it brings me to tears at times, because you see, politics in Nigeria, to use a word that everybody has overused, is too dirty. Now we have a system in Nigeria where you have nearly all the governors in one party, no opposition. So there is no refinement to our system. I don't know how we are going to progress. The only governors that are still remaining there are serving their last terms. And even at that, it appears when they criticize the government in power, they get bullied. That is my opinion. I don't know if everybody observes it. They get bullied. So where do we go from here? It's going to take Nigeria a very long time to get out of the woods. It's just an observation.
Thank you very much. Can you take those 4?
Well, let me take those 4. Most of them are comments.
Yes.
So I don't need to say much more so we can save time. Dr. Obisheson has said that corruption, I agree, no ethics, no penalties. I agree with the suggestion of independent candidature. Maybe we can have independent candidature and the candidates can work in groups that they can work in and do their best and so on and so forth and really speak out loud. Maybe it might help. So if we can get our people to change that law, again, it's very difficult to get them to embrace the truth, but we will try. So that one I agree with absolutely, and I'm glad that I allowed you to arrive at that point. Sonia, change does not take forever. I don't know if you're an advocate for P2B and so on and so forth. Well, okay, so maybe you are suggesting that you think he's one of the better ones and so on and so forth. Well, he needs to go out there to the field and really, really campaign and make himself known to people. But you have to understand that Nigerians don't even know good from bad, right from wrong as such because of their level of knowledge. People cannot track their lifestyle and the conditions of their lives to the government that they have. They just think that, well, that is how it is. There's the way God wants it. So unless you really upgrade and reorientate Nigerians and get them to think properly, you will not get people who can take the right kind of decisions at the right kind of time. And that's why our governments today have been benefiting and weaponized ignorance, weaponized illiteracy, weaponized people's lack of knowledge, because they just have people on the streets doing exactly what they want, the way they want it. And it's benefiting them. And they are perpetuating themselves in power. Sonia said, yeah, so that's my response to Sonia. I think Asukwo, I can't quite remember what he said, but I think he just made a comment as well, so please forgive me. Chinenye was saying that politics is too dirty. They cannot frighten us. They cannot drive us away. It has become dirty because we allow dirty people to go into it. We must continue to ensure that we do not relegate our duties and we do not deny ourselves of our rights. We'll keep trying. We keep trying. The only way we can make forward or make progress in Nigeria is to keep trying. You mustn't allow people to frighten you out of your own house. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and we will keep trying. And one day, the work that we're doing, the efforts that we put in, will reach results. It may not be in our generation. It may not be in our generation, but it's a leader that plants a tree that he won't sit under. But you have to plant that tree and hope that your children or your children's children will sit under the tree. David wanted to build a palace for God. God didn't allow him. So he gathered resources, gathered money, gathered assets, gathered timber, and handed it over to Solomon and said, Solomon, you build the palace. So we must think generationally. We must think generationally. We must be ready to play our own part and hand over the baton to the next generation for them to continue. So sort of the Nigeria that we're thinking of, if we see it in our lifetime, I'll be very glad. If we do not, we would have laid a foundation for others to build on. All I know is that I will play my part in this nation called Nigeria, and I'll do it to the best of my ability and hope and pray that other people will take it up from there. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have 8 more hands up. Pastor Ken, please go ahead. And then
Hello,
Said. Yes, we can hear you.
Hear? Okay. My focus, I've had a lot of everyone making out a case as to
asking a question. They should just maybe we can do something. But please, this is the last set.
Okay.
Please, I beg.
Okay, I just go directly. I've had a lot of contributions. I really appreciate everyone for the love that we all have. That's why we are on this platform. But I believe all the things that we are concerned about, the sum total of it is the lack of accountability in Nigeria has allowed us all these things to be festering, whether crime, corruption, terrorism, because people know that when they do these things, there are no consequences. We need to get back to that level of accountability. People should be held accountable, even on their family level, community level, and so on and so forth. When people believe that they will get away with these things, they continue. But if people have connections, they know that when these connections expire, they would be held accountable. And that's what has helped all the countries that we mentioned, that they are doing well, they have progressed, China, the Middle East countries, the Asian countries, because they hold people accountable. The consequences are faced by everyone that does whatever. So I think part of holding people accountable is to ensure that even the people that receive the benefits, for example, if a family is receiving the benefits of crime, they should also be held accountable. The community receiving the benefits of criminal or kidnapping, they should be held accountable. If a church or any organization, they don't just say, well, we don't know, they should be held accountable. And people that cannot explain their source of wealth should be held accountable to explain what is their source of wealth. And if they cannot explain, they forfeit it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Said Adeleye, Iyayi Samson, and Olufumi Adigbaju, those will be the absolutely last hands we'll take. We added a few more hands. Go ahead, Said.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you as always to the entire leadership of ALG. I mean, let's take a cue from this call. So it starts with each and every one of us in this call. If we begin to hold ourselves accountable and support those who really have the integrity I would had, to represent us, then we begin to actually correct things. Now, as a pastor rightly said as well, it's going to take us a process, but can we start with somewhere? What do I mean by that? I know in a few of these past calls, I've challenged the need for the pastor himself to stand up as a potential candidate. Beyond that, I would love to know, is there any local government, doesn't matter what part of the country it is, because let's look at it as a Nigerian project. Is there any local government in the entire country that we can consolidate effort with and actually start getting things done, whereby, of course, the citizen will start seeing what is possible and how these things can actually work? Beyond that, we need to also encourage the need for those who are actually, intending to do right, to engage more of the circles, okay, both locally and the diaspora, for us to be able to showcase that there's correctiveness and their competence of individuals that can represent beyond just the national focus. So again, the question is, can ALG help us identify some of these individuals and we can focus more on solutions? We all know what the challenges are. Let's begin to focus on solution and act alongside. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Iyayi Samson, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pastor. Yeah, my concern is with electoral misconduct as it relates to rigging by presidential candidates. In the last election, it was obviously clear there was a lot of rigging because some people were even injured and died in the process. Looking at the situation where we can create a system of checks and balances that facilitates transparency in the way elections are done in the country, so that we can create some credibility and reputation as a country that respects the law. There's actually no rule of law, and it's even impacting right now with the current breach of the electoral process, where INEC says that presidential candidates are going ahead to campaign even before they've been given approval to do so. So how do we deal with electoral rigging? It's a major concern for me.
Thank you. Do you want to take the rest of the last two hands up and then group everything together, or do you want to address this one?
Let's take the last two hands.
Okay. So Olufumi Adegbaju, apologies if it's a Mr. or Miss, Mrs. Please go ahead with your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Olufumi Adegbaju. Nigeria is a great country, actually. But when I checked Google like few days ago to know the population of youths between the age of 18 to 45 years old, and I discovered that we have up to 45 to 50%. We occupy between 45 to 50% of the population. That population alone can bring in a good president. But because I don't really understand this Mr. Pastor Ituah is doing. How many pastors are out there sensitizing people? You know, the Yorubas will say "Ile Latin ke eshorode." Like, we all are religious leaders. What are they doing? How are they sensitizing the congregation? You know, because there was a time we had this discussion. I attend Redeemed though, and I raised this particular issue, and the way many of these ministers were like, they don't want to get in trouble. No, we don't want to discuss this. No, it shouldn't be. We shouldn't shy away from this kind of discussion. We should not shy away. Then we should talk to our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers who are in the village. We should talk to them. These people, they are not educated. They just come to them, they share rice, they share this, and they don't know what is good for them. We should try and give them a call and send, and talk to them, tell them this is what you should be doing for the future of their great grandchildren that are coming. If Nigeria does not get better in our time, at least we should try as much as possible to make and play our own parts. Maybe the next generation or the generations to come will benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Afolabi. Please go ahead. We've asked you to unmute.
Yes. Good evening, Pastor, my brother, Egmont. Good evening. 3 quick questions. Pastor, with all your passion, I've asked you this question before, and I will keep asking you. When will you run for office? Whether federal, whether local, when? And then the second one is, do you feel that we may be better off if we go to regional like we were before, or we stay as we are now? Because obviously this presidential and Senate and House, Nigeria cannot continue to afford it. You know, it's eating too much into our revenues, which is very little. And then thirdly, finally, at the very beginning, you talked about our exchange rate. Well, we only have one form of earning dollars, which is the petrodollar. And until we expand our exports, which we don't really have, we're not going to be able to bring down our naira to the dollar, which was once 1-to-1 before, which is very, very unfortunate. So those are my 3 questions, and I thank you very much once again, my brother, Pastor. God bless you.
Okay, over to you, sir.
Okay, let me start from Afolabi's questions. Afolabi is one of my favorite people. We've been together since the 80s in London, and I'm happy to see how he has turned out. A very, very, very almost perfect gentleman. Afolabi, you've spoken very well, and you've said that unless we expand our exports, we cannot manage the exchange rate, and that is absolutely correct. A lot of people think that exchange rate is some magic that central bank controls. No, you sell products to get dollar, and then you use your dollar to import products. So the first thing is to minimize our imports, okay? Minimize our imports. And I keep saying, that one of the things we should minimize is what we consume. Nigeria has no business importing food. So all the money we are spending importing food in dollars, we should cut it off immediately. We should eat what we grow and grow what we eat, like our grandfathers did. All the things that we are importing to eat, we should stop it. If we stopped importing food for consumption, it will save us a whole bunch of dollars, and it will improve our exchange rate, and it will increase our employment and increase our own internal GDP, because we are now eating what we grow and growing what we eat. No more champagne importation, no more tomato puree importation, no more pasta importation, no more rice importation. Don't need to eat rice. My grandfather didn't eat rice, and he was a very good man, and so on and so forth. We waste a lot of money in parties in Nigeria. Ashwebi, most of that ashwebi is made in China, and we buy it by force, by tulas. We don't need to do it. You know, the amount of money we spend in entertainment in Nigeria is humongous, is unbearable, you know, and it's not doing much for our own internal economy here, apart from making a few event managers put up decoration here and there, things that don't really add value to anything. But most of those things are imported, and it's very, very unfortunate. That will limit our foreign exchange. What we are also spending money on in Nigeria is destination weddings. Imagine everybody's going all over the world getting married, you know, and spending a hell of a lot of money doing that. They're paying British Airways, KLM, American Airlines, Delta Airlines, going all over the place, paying hotels in wherever they're going, spending our money paying hotels in those places, generating employment for those people, and minimizing our unemployment. Why can't we do? A friend of mine did his 70th birthday recently. He took us to Ekpe, Isimi Resort in Ekpe, to do his birthday, and everything was there within the birthday. Right there and then. So why are we going to Portugal? Why are we going to Brazil? Why are we going to even Morocco? You know, to do things. Why are we going to all those places? You know, if we cut out that, it will improve our foreign exchange. If we cut out our taste for Western products that we don't manufacture, if we stop them from importing chocolates here, and we made our chocolates here, it will improve our foreign exchange. And we should stop exporting, doing medical tourism. You go all the way to America to see a Nigerian doctor. Isn't that ironic? We should bring our doctors back home and let them do medicine here. If we stopped going to India and South Africa for medical reasons, and France and Britain and America, that would reduce our foreign exchange, this and that, and education. Why are we going abroad to educate our people? Almost everybody now is sending their children abroad. Do you know how much it is costing Nigeria to educate children abroad, because our school system here is not working because of corruption? If we cut that out, the foreign exchange rate will also change, because you send your child to school in America, you jump on the plane, half time you go there, you spend money there, you rent a hotel there, or you build a house or you buy a house there, you come back, you know, going back and forth, waste of time and resource and all that energy, just because you want to give a child a good education. We are destroying ourselves. We are messing ourselves up. We're really, really destroying our economy in Nigeria. And we need to think, we need to rethink, and we need to think better. And I agree, we should have been better off as regions. That's why we're competing. When we had Western TV, it wasn't on oil revenue, it was on cocoa revenue, it was on palm kernel, it was on palm nuts, it was on yam, it was on cassava. Why can't we go back to those things? Those things are still in existence, but we're not farming them. We're not bringing them up. We're not planting new cocoa trees. Even the palm kernel that we have, Ituah oil palm, is wasting away. Nobody's touching it. Everybody's waiting to share oil money. What does that mean? It's very, 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 very pathetic. So we must go back to those regions. We must go back to that competition. We must go back to our various economic earning units, and we must bring out of the soil all the minerals that Nigeria has and make it easy for us to do business in this country. When will I run for office? It's a very, very expensive venture. And because I have not stolen money in my life, I don't have that kind of resource. But if people can gather around me, if people can help me, if people can support me without giving me unbearable conditions, and we can raise the money, we can start a great movement in Nigeria that can transform Nigeria. And that's part of what ALG is trying to do, raise the resource to start a movement to reorientate Nigerians, get Nigerians thinking right, and get us going in a certain direction. If people should join hands, and let's try and do this. And as many people as like should get involved. My sister there was complaining about the church. I agree with you. Part of our problem is the church. What led to the transformation of Europe many, many years ago in the 18th and 19th century was because you had a strong, vibrant church that was preaching the truth. That is what changed the Constitution of Britain, that the Constitution of Britain today was modeled after the Bible. And that is the same Constitution that they adapted in America. And that's part of the same Constitution we try to adapt in Nigeria, because it was changing the thinking of people. It was the Bible that said one man, one wife. It was the Bible that said if you marry outside that marriage, it is bigamy. It was the Bible that said don't kill. There was the Bible that said don't steal. The Bible that said don't commit adultery, don't commit fornication. And all those things were embedded in the laws of the countries where the Bible was preached. So one of the things that's affecting Nigeria is that our religious leaders too have been corrupted. They can't speak the truth from the pulpit. They can't educate the people. They can't inform the people. And we must reverse that and change it and speak to them to stop being afraid of what should be afraid of them. You know, in Israel, the hand of the prophet was always on top. If the king was misbehaving, it was the priest that went to tell the king that you are misbehaving. This is what God says. We don't have pastors now who say, God thus saith the Lord. In fact, what we are looking for now, we want government people to be in our churches. We give them front row. We honor them, we talk about them, we hope that when they are going, they'll send us a basket, send us an offering, and things like that. How can you speak truth to people who you are beholden to? And that's part of the problem of the church. One of the things I quarreled with the church for was that they say we shouldn't get involved in leadership, we shouldn't get involved in politics. Then when political leaders come into the church, they give them front seats and all that. It was part of the issues I had in the church where I served, and it's all hypocrisy. We must stop it. We must stop it. We must not allow corruption to eat the church. We must not allow people to come and make us unable to speak the truth. If the church educated its people, the mosques educated their people, told them the truth, told them the right values, told them what God was saying, things will be a little bit different. So I agree with you. So you must speak to your leaders and tell them to be courageous. How can church say you can't get involved in politics? What is politics? Leadership of your society. If you don't get involved in leadership of your society, who do you want to lead the society? People who are not godly. One of the first principles of a leader must that he must be God-fearing. He must be God-fearing. He must be God-fearing. He must have a God that he respects and fears. Otherwise, he's not going to be a good leader. He's just going to lead as he likes. So we must make sure we have God-fearing people that get involved in the leadership of our nation. My son, is talking about electoral misconduct. Until we get a government that is true and fair and reasonable, you should say bye-bye to anything electoral misconduct, because that is what brought them to power. It was based on electoral misconduct. How can you change what brought you to power? It's not going to happen. Let's be realistic. Until we can speak truth to power and fight and tell them that enough is enough, electoral misconduct is not going to conduct or misconduct or conduct itself in an appropriate way. How can you change what brought you to power? It's not possible. You have to be realistic. So we all as citizens have to rise up, Samson, and make sure that we're not just talking to the gallery. Sahid, every one of us should each and every one of us should change and get involved. I agree. Maybe, it might be a good idea to focus on the local government and see if we can influence and change that local government and use it as a show and tell. It's a good idea, but we must all come together. On ALG platform, we must raise resource. substantial resource to make a change, substantial resource to educate and inform Nigerians. Do you know what it will cost to inform every single Nigerian, 220 million of us? You know what it will cost to get them this message? You know what it will cost to reorientate them? You know what it will cost to challenge government? Every law that they come up with, we test it, we challenge it, we speak about it, we tell them it's unacceptable. You know what it will cost to confront the president and say to the president, thus saith the Lord, that what you are doing is wrong. It will cost a lot of money. And unless we can raise that money and bring it together and make it happen, we are just going to continue to beg the question unless God intervenes. And God can intervene, which is another way that Nigeria's problem can be solved. God can intervene and raise up a Moses, raise up a David, raise up a Solomon, raise up an Elijah, raise up an Elisha. Well, God can intervene. Then it means you need to pray and pray very, very hard for God to intervene, because there's nothing God cannot do. And God can change situations and circumstances to make it happen for the change of this nation. That's where prayer comes in. So unless God intervenes or we do what we can do within our capacity, nothing will happen in Nigeria. So the call tonight is that we should do what we can do. Number one, let's all keep talking and keep telling the truth. Number two, let's all be courageous and be very, very determined that Nigeria must change. Number three, let's put our money where it is. Let's put our money in a fund that we can use to support people who want to go there and challenge the status quo. Number four, let us be good people. You be a good person yourself. Fight hard to be a good person, to be truthful, to be honest, to be loyal, to be committed, to be hardworking, and to keep spreading that gospel. Number five, let us call out those who are bad. Let us call them out. Let's stop tolerating them because they are our friends or because we're benefiting from what they're doing and so on and so forth. Let us call them out and say, Oga, this one you did is not quite right. The other one you did, fantastic. You did well. This one is not right. Let us tell the truth. Let us keep talking. Let us keep getting involved. Let us keep challenging. Let us keep criticizing that which is wrong. Let us not be afraid. Let us be courageous. Every person must rise up and inform one another that this is a collective responsibility that we must all fight. We're not waiting for them or them or them or them. You are wasting time. Them is not going to do anything. Any child that belongs to everybody belongs to nobody. Let us take responsibility and let us get involved. That is my message for the average Nigerian. Be a good person and look for good and do good and speak good and encourage good and criticize evil. Once you are able to do that, there will be change in this country. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for tolerating me. I do believe that Nigeria will be great again in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much for this great session. I think we'll probably need a follow-up workshop to develop that roadmap. A lot of people have sent in their comments, and I think it's been inspiring and engaging to have people interested in what Nigeria can be. So we thank you for your time with us again, and we look forward to a follow-up session. I would have brought you up to close, but I'm going to bring Pastor Sonny to please go ahead and close. Go ahead, Pastor Sonny. I want to thank everyone. Pastor Sonny, are you able to unmute? Or your system is frozen? I think his system is frozen.
Please go ahead and close.
Okay. Thank you all for joining us this evening. You heard the appeal. Africa Empowerment Foundation is an organization that is made up of people just like you, passionate people that are interested in advancing Nigeria. I dropped a link in the chat room for you to please complete that form and find out how you can be more involved and engage with us. And we have a lot of programs that we're looking for funds for this civic awareness and civic responsibility, taking it to the grassroots. We have a youth movement right now that we want to support as well. So we will be posting more information about the different initiatives and how you can contribute to advancing our cause. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. It's always good to have you here. We can't have this without you, and we hope to see you again next week, Thursday, same time, same Zoom link. And for those of you that are really interested in being part of this, of building the strategy or the roadmap, just complete that form and you have our contact information. You have mine, you have Pastor Luz, and you have Mr. President as well. We would definitely like to have maybe behind the scenes workshop on this strategy that will really move us to the next level. I want to thank you again this evening and have a good night. The after party usually starts after this. So if you can join us for that, we would appreciate it. If not, we'll see you again next week, Thursday. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Thank you for your for speaking truth to power and for always being available on this nation's cause. Have a good evening and God bless you all.